Hi, I'm Andrew Gillis with Sepro Mineral Systems. I'm here in my home office today doing a video about the 4 types of mineral processing. The marketing department asked me to do a video on the 4 types of mineral processing, and my first initial reaction was, what are you talking about? I wasn't sure why they were asking for that video, but they said a lot of people search that or ask that question. What are the 4 types of mineral processing? So I did a little bit of an investigation to figure out where that may be coming from. So here on the Wikipedia page for mineral processing, we scroll down a little bit and we find out where this is coming from. So we have here mineral processing can involve 4 general types of unit operation. So this is where it is. And the page identifies this as comminution, sizing, concentration, and dewatering. So, do I agree with this or do I not agree with this? Well, I think it really depends what we're talking about. I think if we're talking about a theoretical point of view, no. If we're talking about a practical point of view, yes. And I'll describe a little bit what I'm talking about here. So here's Sepro's knowledge page at minerals.seprosystems.com. This is where we have all of our technical papers and some videos. We've got academic papers, white papers, short articles. And here we have Mineral Processing 101. And the way that we approach this topic is we talk about 2 fundamental principles of mineral processing. The first principle is here, creating heterogeneity. So this basically means, taking large rocks that are relatively homogeneous and breaking them into small enough particles that now there are differences in the rocks that we can then exploit. And the second step is exploiting differences. So using this sort of high-level theoretical framework, we can look at structuring these types of mineral processing that's identified in the Wikipedia article. So from a theoretical point of view, we've got, again from the article, comminution, screening, concentration, and dewatering. So if we're talking about creating heterogeneity, that is basically comminution. So this is crushing, grinding, and the devices that are used for those. So, there's gyratory crushers, jaw crushers, cone crushers, typically used in the mining industry, grinding, SAG mills, ball mills, HPGR, everything that's taking large particles and making them into smaller particles, and that fits in here. In conjunction with that, often we have some sort of screening or size separation, we'll call it size separation device, that's used in conjunction with the comminution equipment, and that could be a screen, could be a hydrocyclone. And I'm saying that these kind of work together here because, let's say you need particles to be roughly 100 microns to get proper heterogeneity. These things will work together. The back and forth between a size separation device and a comminution device to create that heterogeneity. But screening also comes under the category of exploiting differences. If you have, differences in breakage, differences in hardness, that can be exploited between these. And actually, the screen itself, has certain size openings and a particle either goes through it or it doesn't go through it based on its size. The cyclone, on the other hand, is more of a wet weight separation device and can actually be used and is used quite frequently in gold concentration to retain gold particles in the grinding circuit. So it is actually, specifically exploiting differences in density to preferentially retain and concentrate gold in the grinding circuit. So screening kind of falls into both of these categories. Concentration, this is, straight up exploiting differences, falls right in that category. And here, We have physical separation devices, which could be, gravity separation, centrifuges, spirals, magnetic separators, whatever. And then we have surface chemical properties. This is flotation. And this is where there's a little bit of pointed disagreement with the Wikipedia article where, it depends if we're talking about practical or theoretical classification or categorization, and that's leaching. So the Wikipedia article defines this, generally leaching as a hydrometallurgical process that's a different branch of extractive metallurgy. But, so from a theoretical standpoint, yeah, okay, that's not part of mineral processing. But from a practical standpoint, this is very common in mineral processing operations. So from a practical standpoint, I would include it. And, we get into the same topic here, the same point with dewatering. So dewatering isn't doing really either of those theoretical things. And one could say, hey, if we're talking about removing water as a type of unit operation in mineral processing, why don't we have adding water at the start of the process? Well, and I think in that distinct sense of the theoretical framework, then no, we wouldn't include dewatering as one of the types of mineral processing. But if we're talking about a practical standpoint, mines have to spend a ton of time and energy on dewatering. So practically, I would include this, when we're talking about things like, thickeners, filter press, or filters rather, and if you're really, really unlucky, maybe there's thermal drying, but you certainly want to stay away from that if you can. So I think if I was talking about a practical framework, yep, I would have the same categories here. But one thing, if we're talking about practical classification, I would include leaching here just because that's very common. Gold, copper, having leaching steps in, what we would know as a mineral processing plant. And if we're talking about a theoretical framework, then nope, you go to hydrometallurgy, you go away, and we just talk about 3 categories of mineral processing, I think. So hopefully that answers that question. Maybe there's 4, maybe there's 3. Depends if you want a practical framework or a theoretical framework on the different types of mineral processing. Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out the knowledge section of minerals.seprosystems.com if you found this interesting and you want to get into more detail on specific topics of mineral processing. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much.